Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar of the Aotearoa Property Data Network. Today we have some LINZ news and updates and some project updates. Welcome to the webinar. I'll just start with our karakia and then move into the agenda. Mata tātou, whai te mātauranga, kia mārua, kia tupu, kia tiaki ngā whenua, ngā moana, ngā arawai, kia whaitake ngā mahi katoa, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou, toi te kupu, toi te mana, toitū te whenua, huie, tai kie. We pursue knowledge for understanding, developing and caring for the lands, the bodies of water and the waterways. We seek purpose in all that we do. Let us show respect for each other, hold fast to our language, hold fast to our spiritual strength, sustain the land and gather and go forward together. Next, we have a project or an introduction to a project that has been quietly ticking away, but scoring some big wins. As mentioned earlier, Project of the Year at Survey and Spatial Conference. Presenting, we've got Phillip Smith from our Spatial and Requests team based in Christchurch.
Yeah, hi everybody. Firstly, Ben, can you hear me okay? Great. Yeah, firstly, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Phil Smith. I've been with Toitū Te Whenua LINZ for a long time now. And yeah, this project I've been involved with since its inception back in 2016. So it's my privilege to be able to give you all a bit of a heads up into what the project was set up to do, how it's progressing, and some of the benefits to not only to Toitū Te Whenua LINZ, but the main stakeholder Waka Kotahi and even wider users of the property data from us. So I'll just bring up my slideshow and go share screen. And all right, so cool. So I'm part of the Toitū Te Whenua Spatial and Requests team. We're based in Christchurch and Hamilton, and our responsibility is the maintenance of the geospatial data within Land Online, which is basically the bedrock of a lot of the primary data, spatial primary data and aspatial property data as well. This project was an initiative led by Waka Kotahi with the intention of addressing some of the spatial inaccuracies around the mapping of the state highway network within New Zealand. They discovered early on in some investigations in 2014, 2015, and even earlier that the mapping of the digital cadastre in some cases didn't bear a great correlation with the physical road pattern. And it was their desire to see that improved. So they approached us and contracted the 4 survey firms here, WSP, Becker, Harrison Grierson and Oricon to help with the project, and I'll explain everybody's part in that as we go on. But just a step backwards. First, just wanted to give a brief history of how the cadastre is presented and recorded. So at the moment, we know that Land Online is the area or the system that holds the property data, and especially in its geospatial and aspatial form. But prior to Land Online, what's been the journey? So up until the 80s, the 1980s, we had record sheets, and people who have worked with LINZ and predecessor departments will be well aware of these. I picked on this image here because this is actually a part of an imperial record sheet, which was a canvas 30-inch by 30-inch drawing of an area that I actually drew back in the 80s. Just noticed that the wash color on the roads isn't very good. Must have been in my early days. But so this is the mechanism used for recording the subdivision pattern as it was progressing. When we moved into the 1980s and the digital cadastral database was set up within Land Information, or Department of Survey and Land Information as it was there, we embarked on the digitising program, moving all that data from the record sheets into a digital database. Then after the digitising was completed, the data was updated with manual entry of survey plans as they came in, using this big old digitising tablet. And from 2000 till now, with the advent of Land Online, the spatial representation of property data has been maintained here. So we also have the progressive update system where we integrate new pockets of survey data from subdivisions into Land Online and slowly replace what was originally digitised data with full survey data, and that gives us spatial accuracy and also positional accuracy for the data. But we still have large areas of the database that are defined by the original digitised data. When that came into Land Online, they were given calculated values like bearings and distances, and these vectors were created as pseudo vectors. So they're sitting in the database now in some areas, and slowly as subdivision plans and patterns arrive in those areas, they get updated to full survey data. So that's a brief history, but what about the project? What was its intention? So it began back in 2016 with an inquiry from Waka Kotahi to Toitū Te Whenua LINZ, with the aim of how could we get together to improve the spatial mapping and accuracy of the state highway network, and how could we undertake a program to upgrade the pseudo vectors to full survey data. So we actually came up with quite a unique process for this, using the standard functionality within Land Online, but manipulating it to handle the type of data that was going to be required. The Office of the Surveyor General and the geodetic team at the time also had a big input into how this data would be captured and integrated. So we use the similar system to the standard survey subdivision survey system, where a surveyor will create a data set and submit it for approval, and then once it's approved, we integrate it into the Land Online and update it. And for this purpose of this project, the 4 survey firms mentioned earlier have been contracted to prepare the survey data sets, and I'll show you what a data set looks like and how we update Land Online using it. So, and yep. So between 2016 and 2020, we attended to the most inaccurate portions of State Highway. I've got a note there saying that some data movement up to 30 metres was corrected. That's a little conservative. We found some areas upwards of 45 to 50 metres out of position in terms of the physical architecture, physical construction of the land, of the roads. And by inputting the survey information from plans, we were able to manipulate that into the correct position. Since 2021, we began a new phase based on responding to projects that Waka Kotahi is undertaking, and also filling in the gaps to remove any remaining digitised data that hadn't been upgraded. To date there, we've received 1,611 CSDs, and that's quickly ticking up, as at the end of the year there tends to be a little bit of a hump of CSDs datasets coming in, and we've upgraded 25,500 parcels to be survey accurate. This is a little pictorial of what we're up against, especially in the first round. The blue lines are the original digital cadastral lines from Land Online prior to the DPI work being done in this area. This intersection of these 2 roads here, that's the State Highway 41 and this is State Highway 35 on the western shores of Lake Taupo, and yeah, seriously out of position in terms of the the physical road construction. So when the surveyors undertaking this particular area entered or created a data set with vectors from the approved plans that actually define these parcels, then we ended up with what it should look like. And yeah, quite satisfying really to see it turn up in the right place like that. Plus it also gives the waka kotahi and their subcontractors a lot of confidence around digitally and geospatially locating the boundaries for road upgrades and services locations and things like that. So the process, what do we do? So the data sets are prepared as a survey data set by the surveyors in their office, and they create vectors and marks based on approved plans, and then these are submitted into Land Online. The data sets are then used to upgrade Land Online spatially, so we move everything to match the captured data, and that work's done by myself and the team here at Spatial and Requests. To explain a little bit clearer, we've got this area here on the left showing the data prior to the digital parcel improvement work going through. The red lines are the pseudo digitized vectors, or were, in Land Online, and the blue is adopted vectors and marks from an SO plan shown here on the right, a survey office plan, which has been approved many years ago. So when that data is joined together and created digitally, and then we overlay the data into Land Online, this is the kind of displacement that we end up with. And then we use Land Online with these tools within Land Online, which I'll show you soon, to actually move the existing data onto the same position as the data captured in blue, which is effectively the digital parcel upgrade. We also use the captured data to change and include any angles that are missing in the road and any parcels of land that have been legalised as road or stopped road that have not been previously recorded in Land Online. So we're catching up with all that legalisation action as well. So this is what happens at the end. As part of the upgrade, the existing Land Online nodes at the end of each line are moved, literally physically moved. And then after the data set is approved, we integrate what we call the new vectors into Land Online and replace the pseudo vectors. And we adjust it all and assign the best accuracy we can to those node coordinates. So in this area here, we had movement of upwards between 5 and 10 meters, which is significant. And this is on State Highway 11 up by Paihia. Just another little example of what we found. This example is up by Kaitaia, State Highway 1, and there's a serious dogleg was a serious dogleg in the cadastral mapping of the road corridor. Obviously not very helpful for doing future planning works for them, and even down through here you can see the old cadastral boundary is part way into the road formation. Then adding the survey data into Land Online and doing the upgrade process, we find that the road is sitting nicely within the legal pattern, and yeah, it just makes it look so much better. If I just move from there, I'd just like to show you briefly how this works. So if I just bring this over here, this is the Land Online survey capture screen, and this is what the data looks like when we see it. So the existing data is in black. The existing nodes at the end of each line are in orange here. Then the captured data displays with the blue lines here. If I just turn these parcels off, oops, where are we? Come on, turn those parcels off. There, you can see them now. The captured data is the blue dotted lines, are non-boundary work that we use as a framework to construct the data sets, and then the solid blue lines are the boundary lines from the older approved plans, showing exactly where the road should be sitting. So on this side of the road, we have really good coverage. That's fine. On this left-hand side of the road, sorry, we have quite a displacement issue up through here. So to attend to that, we use another part of Land Online, which I'll bring up here, which looks very similar. This is the topology and geometry system, and displays the data slightly differently, but the beauty of this is that we can see the submitted data, and I can see the existing data in here as well. And the actual mechanics of doing this work is fairly straightforward now that we've got the new data. I can literally just, having determined that these nodes are pseudo nodes, I can literally just move them onto line. I'll just do a couple more and then I'll show you. And the upgrade is instantaneous throughout the whole system. Let's move that onto there. As we're going, we're also doing some investigation into the legality of the parcels, making sure that the legalisation work has actually occurred. And we are finding parcels that have been missed, road that's been taken that's not been displayed, been captured, or road that's been stopped that has not been reverted to primary parcels. So there's just a very quick demonstration of what we can do within the Land Online system. If I go back to the capture screens now and just refresh it, that left-hand boundary will move straight onto there, onto those nodes in that area. Once that's all been done like this, we send this data set back to the surveyor and they link up the old and the new. That gives us a correlation for after approval. We integrate the new data and we replace the old with the new. So that's this upgrade now, having moved the data into that right position, will be displayed in the LINZ data service primary parcels layers the following week. So it happens over the weekend. Yeah, so that's a very brief demo for that, and I'll just return to this. So some of the project benefits that Toitū Te Whenua have experienced from this work is that we now have a increasing amount of improved spatial data along the majority of the state highway network now in New Zealand. We're working on Central Otago at the moment. We're working on parts of the Hawke's Bay, and that's in response to the weather events earlier on in the year. Because of this process that we have in place, we're able to carry out digital parcel improvement work quite quickly in response to natural disasters like that, so that we can give waka kotahi some confidence around the positioning of the highways. So the parcel boundaries along the state highways are becoming fully survey defined, which is a big deal for us and any other user of the spatial data and surveyors that are working in areas. It's facilitating this full replacement with meaningful data, which is really good. It's a forerunner for other DPI work that we're carrying out within our team, and we're responding to different requests from other government agencies for spatial improvement work. We also have requests from territorial authorities for carrying out spatial improvement work. And then, of course, any user of property data through the LINZ data service is going to benefit from the accuracy in this data. I just confirmed this with waka kotahi. They're happy for me to share this with you all. Some of the benefits of the project for them, that the upgraded digital data has become and is becoming a foundation for them when undertaking the investigation stage for projects, including safety improvement projects or response to natural disasters projects and road recovery. They have a lot more confidence in the boundary location now for when they're undertaking their projects, the mapping of services and the ability to work out whether land needs to be taken for road or not. Confidence in encroachments onto state highways for the designation and revocation reviews down the bottom there. on the right-hand side there, certainty in land and asset ownership, enabling accurate asset management and valuation, so that they have a lot more confidence when they're valuing the asset that they're administering, based on the area and the size of the polygons that make up the road. And then the property acquisition and disposal process for them is able to be attacked with a lot more confidence, because the digital data representing the roads is a lot more accurate. It's been a real pleasure to work with them. They're a wonderful group of people to work with. For example, here's a little example of a shift of between 5 and 10 meters between the old, which is the blue, and the new upgraded data, which is yellow. So you can imagine if a contractor is out there trying to locate the services based on the old mapping, then chances are that the poles and the fences are going to be incorrect. But when in fact the new mapping is showing that the road casement and all the architecture on the road is actually within the legal framework, and they can be, confidently worked on. As been mentioned, we were fortunate enough to be awarded the Project Excellence Awards at the recent Spatial and Survey Conference. It was a big honour to receive that, and the work is ongoing. So it looks like Waka Kotahi have done some investigation into what's required entirely from the start of the project to the end, how many parcels are involved, and it's around the 75,000 mark. Parcels involved. Now we've upgraded 25,500 of those, so we're like a third of the way through. But it's good work, satisfying work. Happy to take any questions if there's time. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time and attention.
Hi, Phillip, thanks for that. That was really engaging presentation. And there is just one question in the chat. Fraser Church has asked, do you receive complaints or feedback from landowners adjacent to the update box?
Yeah, we do. We actually now have getting a number of inquiries from private owners about the digital representation of land. And our team has a process, it actually came from this DPI work, where we're able to respond to that. Whereas, with the DPI work, we get surveys to create the data sets for spatial upgrade. With those individual requests, we do the data set ourselves, and then we upgrade land online. So we have an external facing email address, which is spatial requests at LINZ, where we take inquiries directly from public or from other users, other organisations too, and we can respond to those.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And we'll just we'll share that email address, contact information with the notes afterwards as well.
Yep.
Yeah, any other questions just while we've got a bit of time from the floor? Anyone do feel free to just pop a hand up or turn your mic on and fire in a question. I think talking to Michael Brownie before, he had a question about whether private rights of way in the future program of work or something that are on the radar at all, but maybe it's something you can share a bit of insight into.
In terms of the spatial representation of private rights of way? Is that the question is coming from, do you think? Yeah, so what is interesting is we're getting a number of inquiries from territorial authorities about arterial roads. So that's one spin-off from this, not necessarily private rights of way. However, we would respond to a request if someone was concerned about how it was shown in the mapping and, with regards to what they understand the access should be. So yeah, we have tools to look at those sort of things as well.
Great. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, we might wrap up this part of the this segment there.
Sure.
Thanks again, Phillip.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, and we'll move on now to the next segment. Oh, I might just share my screen again. Sweet. So an update next on the valuations rules, ratings valuation rules review. And I'll be talking to this, as I said earlier, in Andrew Freeth's stead. He couldn't make it today as the project lead. So the ratings valuations rules were last reviewed in 2008. So it's well due time for another review. And there are several objectives, including improving the data quality and the ratings valuation processes, undertaking a general tidy up, updating legislative references and anything else that's out of date, and continuing to support a nationally consistent, impartial, independent, and equitable ratings valuation system. So in the course of early consultation and engagement with stakeholders across councils and ratings valuation service providers, there have been several opportunities identified to improve the data and the processes. Some additions that have been proposed include things like adding a parcel ID into the content of the DVR and requiring the recording of additional property identifiers, for example, where there's multiple buildings on one site. And some proposed improvements to data clarity and accuracy include things like standardizing how the address of the rating unit is recorded and ensuring certificates of title and legal description in the DVR match to the certificate of title as the authoritative source of that information. And that will make it much easier for people working in this space to match up information and make sure that all is aligned as it should be with the between the relevant pieces of property information for any individual property. And so in the second phase, looking to review and improve ratings valuation processes. There are 4 processes in total. First 3 are a cyclical relationship. So from general revaluations, then looking at objections and looking at DVR maintenance, each in turn. And besides that, there is the individual property valuations undertaken by registered valuers. So all 4 of those processes will be individually reviewed or in turn as part of the second phase of the project. And just in terms of a very high level timeline, in February next year, February 2024, the aim is to consult on ratings valuation processes and rule proposals with councils and valuation service providers to consult on those formal rules that have been drafted. And then the aim next is in July 2024 to move then to public consultation on the new rules, and that's necessary to precede then implementing the rules in the hopefully the first quarter of 2025. So before implementation, there needs to be that public all those rounds of industry and public consultation, and then also there is some due process in terms of review and approval by the Valuer General and presentation to the House of Representatives by the Minister for Land Information as well. And implementation will include a transition period as well to be decided. So that's all for the project update, just quick and high level to keep you all informed. And you can expect some more information in early next year, as this timeline suggests, as the project moves forward. And I'll just check now to see if there's any questions come through in the chat. Doesn't look like there are any there. But so open to the floor if there's any questions. Silence is golden. So if there's no questions, we'll look to wrap up, and we'll share the recording and notes afterwards with the full network membership as well. And we might get some more questions come through to Andrew or myself. We'll share the contact details with the notes. So yeah, more than welcome to fire through any questions at any time. Okay, and so that was all for the agenda. If there's no more questions, I'll just move to the closing karakia and then send you all on your way for the rest of the day. Te mata tātou kuie, tui te kaupapa, ka rea ngā hua, ka rere ngā arawai, hua mau te matauranga, hei arahina ngā mahi o Toitū Te Whenua, kia tau te rangi marie, hi rongi ia tātou katoa, homie, hui, tai kie. Our work has come to a satisfactory conclusion. The fruit is growing, the waterways continue to flow. We now have the knowledge to lead and drive the work of Toitū Te Whenua. May peace settle upon all of us, gather and go forward together. Thank you everyone for your time. As I said just before, yeah, we'll share the recording and the notes afterwards with yourselves and everyone else who couldn't make it today, the full mailing list. Yeah, have a great rest of your day.